Welcome to yet another episode of That Healing Feeling with me, Neha Ranglani. And today's episode is my personal favorite and is super special because we have someone who is going to train us how to be mindful in our day-to-day life. Now, this is so important because we are always either in the past or the future, and we don't realize that life happens in the present moment. My guest for today, Alok Taunk, is a mindfulness coach who has 11 years of experience in training individuals and corporates to master their minds. And he specializes in stress management, work-life balance, emotional intelligence, and conducts corporate trainings all across India. He's on a mission to build India's largest mindfulness community and empowers people with tools to stay grounded, resilient, and thrive in all areas of their life. So if you want to control your mind and not the other way around, then please watch this episode till the end because I'm sure you're going to take back a lot of insights. So don't forget to subscribe to this channel so that we can come up with more insightful episodes for you, and also subscribe to Neha Ranglani Shorts, where we put up short clips of this episode where you can get useful insights in bite-sized videos. Alok, thank you so much for being here and doing this with me today. I'm so excited to have you because there's a lot that I need to understand from you.
Thank you, Neha. Thank you. It's my pleasure to be here. You're doing a great job. Before we jump into this, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Yeah. I'm really intrigued by the name of this podcast, that is That Healing Feeling. If you can give me a little bit
Do you
of
like
insight.
it? First, tell me that.
Oh, it's lovely.
Okay.
It's lovely. It's rhyming. At the same time, it is deep.
It's deep, yeah. So when I was thinking of a name, I wanted people to understand that healing is not only about, or health is not only about what you eat on your plate. Because mostly we see health as acha kha lo, exercise kar lo, and that's about it. But health is deeper. It encompasses your physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual well-being. And when I wanted to start a podcast, I thought I want to bring those aspects of healing as well. Understanding the mind, understanding the emotions, understanding spirituality, because all of this helps us to heal at a deeper level and not just what's on our plate. So I was like, okay, what do we call it? What do we call it? And I was like, okay, that healing feeling. So when someone comes on the podcast, should be like, okay, I'm going to learn something about some aspect of health, be it physical, mental, emotional, or spiritual, or maybe all of it in one episode, depending on who the guest is and what they have to share. And they'll take back something that they can implement in their lives, which will help them to improve their health and support their healing journey. So that was the thought behind the name.
Awesome. I do second that because, it's high time that we expand our perspective towards healing. It shouldn't just be medicine, or it shouldn't just be food, or it shouldn't just be meditation for that matter. All the aspects of our being needs to be considered in order for holistic healing. Yes. Lovely. Fantastic.
So my hashtag is Let's Heal Beyond the Plate.
Oh, wonderful.
Yes. So Alok, you're a mindfulness coach, and I'm really here to pick your brains about everything mindfulness, because this is one topic that not too many people are talking about, but it's the need of the hour. Literally, we need mindfulness in our lives because of the chaotic and the crazy lives that we all are leading today. But I want to first start with, what is mindfulness? Define it for me.
Yeah. So, we'll not look at the textbook definition or the jargons for that matter. From a layman perspective, in simple words, mindfulness means to do what you're doing fully with all your awareness. If you're maybe, eating your meal, you're only eating your meal. You're not thinking about something else. You're not scrolling your phones. You're not on a Netflix. When you're talking to someone, you're deeper into that conversation and your attention is undivided. So basically, hum Hindi mein kehte hain sajagta, right? So mindfulness means sajagta. Mindful rehna means sajag rehna. So anything and everything that you do with your complete awareness. That is mindfulness. Now, the question is that why, Alok? Why is this required? Right? Because the very nature of the mind, Neha, if you see, it keeps on wandering. It always wants to go places.
It's like a monkey.
It's like a monkey. There's this study, a beautiful study. It's a groundbreaking study in psychology. And the name of the study is A Wandering Mind is an Unhappy Mind. And literally the outcomes of the study were were awesome, amazing. That, people for more than 64% of the times, their mind is wandering, either in the past or the future. And just think about it. If a wandering mind is an unhappy mind, Neha, then for more than 64% of the times in a day, we are unhappy. Right? So that's where the importance and the significance of training our mind to be in the present so that we can make the most out of that situation comes into place.
Yeah.
So that's what mindfulness is all about.
You rightly said, I mean, if 64% of the times in a day that we are unhappy and we are chasing happiness, everything that we are doing is to feel happy.
True.
So are you saying that just being in the present moment can help you tap into your happiness?
In a way, yes. There's a science behind it. So for example, let's say, when you're having your meal and when you're present with every morsel that you are placing in your mouth, don't you think, Neha, that you'll be able to enjoy that food, the taste, the smell, and the entire experience of having that food? For example, let's say, if you are in a restaurant, okay, and you order an expensive drink, you are in a 7-star restaurant, you order an expensive drink, and this drink costs you somewhere around, let's say, 3,500 rupees, a small glass, okay, but it comes in a very fancy glass. So now you're like, now you know the value of that drink, right? So will you drink it mindlessly while you're talking to others and while you're scrolling on your phone, or will you savor it?
Yeah.
You will
Each
savor
sip
it.
will be savored.
Exactly.
Yes. Yeah.
In fact, that drink will last for 3 hours.
Yeah.
You're actually sipping it. You will take some pictures of it, etc., etc. All that will happen. So basically, you're enjoying it. And you'll also try to, make sense of what has gone into it, the flavors that you're getting, the smell. And so that's called as enjoying. And that makes you happy about the experience. Now, why can't we do that when it comes to our breakfast, our lunch, our snack, our dinner?
Because we're not paying heavily for it, is it?
In a way.
In a way. Yeah.
So this is what is seen, that many times people are not even aware how much they are eating, what they are eating, when they are full, because your body is giving you signals. Now, bas karo, it's done. But nahi wo episode baki hai na. Till the time that episode doesn't over, I have to munch, right? Yeah. So I think somewhere everything is going for a toss. But when you are present, when you make the most out of it, you are satisfied, you are content, which leads to happiness.
So we know that life happens in the present. There's no past, there's no future. It's all an illusion in our mind. But why is it so difficult for us to be in the present? And how not being in the present is affecting our health, not just mental health, but emotional and physical health?
So, Neha, if you see, life is happening in a continuum, right? So, of course, every moment is going by. We are here in the present, and then there's a new moment which is coming up. Now, the thing is, why it is so difficult for us to be in the present? That's $1 million question. My understanding behind this is that if you look at our mind is like a Velcro to the past, and it is like a Teflon to the present.
One second, let me wrap my head around it. Life is like a Velcro to the past. We get stuck to it, and it's like a Teflon to the
present.
To the present. We are non-sticking to it.
Yes.
Oh my God, that's a great analogy. I mean, I'm loving this.
Yes. See, the thing is, our mind is obsessed with negativity. This is one of the reasons why negative news, negative shows where there's a lot of fight and there's a lot of negative emotions and drama for TRP. So see, this is the psychology behind why people want to see more of negative stuff. And if you look at, good messages and stuff, we don't want to spend much time there. It all boils down to mental training. If I ask you a question, Neha, right now, that, for example, let's say if you have a pet dog, okay, and if you give your dog a command, sit, ghumo, leto, roll karo, eat, sleep, your dog will obey your command. Yes or no?
Yeah.
If you give the same commands to a stray dog, will it obey?
No.
It will be confused. Trained. Yes, it is not trained. The same is the case with our mind. You can either have a stray mind or a pet mind. Okay. So a mind that is trained will obey your commands.
Okay.
And the mind that is not trained will work against you. The mind that is trained will work for you. So when we talk about mindfulness, when we talk about meditation, when we talk about many other focus harnessing modalities that we have, that's wherein we are training our mind to be in the present. And now, why is it so important? Because just think about it. If you are constantly thinking about the past, if you are constantly thinking about the future, now when I talk about the past, we are talking about the guilt and the regrets of the past. When we talk about the future, we are talking about the fears, the anxieties, the uncertainties, the ambiguities of the future. Our focus defines our feelings, Neha. When you focus on the bad, you feel bad. When you focus on the good, you feel good. Okay. If you are constantly focusing on the past regrets and guilt, how will that make you feel?
Bad all the time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And if you're constantly focusing on the ambiguities, the uncertainties, the fears and the worries of the future, how will that make you feel?
Anxious, overwhelmed.
Exactly. Then if you are in a constant state of anxiety, constant state of stress, constant state of worry, constant state of fear, then what is that emotion doing to your body?
Damaging you with it.
Exactly.
Damaging your cells.
Exactly. Because our body is just like a chemical factory. Like your focus is defining your feeling is defining the neurotransmitters that needs to be released in your body, and you are in that constant state of negative emotion. So that is where diseases take place. Today, medical science says that more than 90% of the diseases root from stress, which is called as psychosomatic. So I think that's the reason it's very important for all of us that we train the mind to be here.
So before we move on to the next segment, I quickly want to give a big shout out to Urban Platter for powering our season 1 of That Healing Feeling with Neha Ranglani. I loved what you just said right now, and I loved how you put it. Like, where you place your focus is what you feel, and what you feel decides the chemical production in your body, and then that decides the fate of your health.
Yes.
That's powerful. And it's so simplified. You've really oversimplified it for us, guys. You can make notes of this. Put your focus at the right place, feel the right thing, and then your body will do the right thing. Beautiful. Now, my subsequent question to that is, how do you train the mind? What are the ways to do that?
I tell this to my mentees, my students, that one step at a time. Don't overwhelm yourself. Don't overwhelm this system. Because, it is like a person who has never been to a gym. आप उसको gym लेके जा रहे हो, and on the first day you're telling, come on now, pick the 20 kg dumbbell. वो दूसरे दिन से आएगा ही नहीं. He's like, no, because वो उठ ही नहीं पाए. There's so much of pain, right? So one step at a time. By the way, today, people are super busy.
Yeah.
We don't have time. I think this is our takya kalam ki time nahi hai.
Time nahi. That's one currency we all are short on.
Exactly. Exactly. And in this state, wherein we are all over the place, if you ask people to meditate, to practice mindfulness, to practice focus and all that stuff, they'll say, I'll do it from next Monday. And that Monday never comes.
Yeah, most of my clients tell me, I'm too busy in the morning. I have crazy mornings. I can't sit for 10 minutes and do nothing. I'm like, but that's going to help you to get through your day. But they're like, nahi, time nahi hai.
Yeah. So, what people can do is, one of the best ways to train their mind, their focus, their attention, their awareness is to be present just for 1 minute. Just 60 seconds. That's it. Now, can you do that for 60 seconds? Can you train your mind for 60 seconds? Of course.
Of course. Yeah.
Of course. So, for example, let's say when you're getting up in the morning, when you come in the state of consciousness every morning, just take 60 seconds to observe your breath. That's it. Just take 60 seconds to observe how you're feeling, how your body is feeling. Today, what is happening is, unfortunately, we all have our mobile phones right on the bedside table. The time you get into a conscious awareness state, automatically your hand reaches out to the phone.
I think that's the biggest addiction we all have today.
Exactly. Or फिर क्या होता है? Then you start watching, okay, then there are notifications, there are emails, there are this likes and comments.
I think the first thing that you do is you open Instagram. I think that's a reflex.
Exactly.
The minute you switch on your phone, it's the Instagram where your hand first goes out to, and you're like, okay, what are the likes and what are the notifications? What are the comments? That's most common today. And
this is how we have unknowingly trained our muscle memory. Every day, if you're doing that particular thing, every day you do that, every day, then if you don't even want to do that, your body will do it.
Yeah.
And then you are in that trap.
But what impact does that have on our mind? Because we are in a very subconscious state when we are awake in the morning, when we just wake up. And then before we get into consciousness, if we are seeing the phone and we are checking all the notifications and news, a lot of people watch the news when they wake up in the morning. Aaj idhar bomb gira, aaj iska rape hua, aaj ye hua. All these very, very, like disheartening stuff that we hear in the morning and scary stuff. What impact does it have on our mind? Which we don't realize.
It has a major impact. Now, in order to understand this impact, let's understand this analogy. Okay. Let's say if you go to a restaurant and you're sitting on this table. Now there are 10 different waiters who start bringing 10 different dishes to you. Madam, ye try kar lo, ye try kar lo, ye kar lo, wo kar lo, ye kar lo, ye kar lo. Everyone comes to you. Will you start eating everything?
No.
No. What you will say is, Neha, 1 minute. Hold on. I would like to try this. So this is called as using the power of choice. You are selecting consciously that out of these 10 dishes, I want to try this. I want to taste this. Now just think about the same thing from the social media perspective. When you're opening your phone, there are many waiters who are bringing multiple dishes. That means there is a social media post, there's an email, there's a notification, there is this and there's an offer, there is this and everything is tick, 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 all that pop-ups come up. Now what you do is you start trying everything.
And some are delicacies and some are spoiled broths.
Exactly. Pet to kharab hona hi hai. So the same thing happens with the mind as well. Now you are just starting your day and just think of your mind as your mobile battery. It is 100% when you get up in the morning, right? Now what happens is in the next half an hour, 50% is consumed because you are watching random things and some of them are good, but most of them would be taking a toll on your mind. So now in the next 2 hours you got up, you start feeling exhausted. And now your priorities are out of the window. You don't know how am I going to start the day, kya karna hai, kya nahi karna hai. Now it is 12 o'clock noon, it is 1 o'clock and still you haven't yet started your day. And you're already full of anxiety that I'm running late. And in that, if you get a message, a stinker from your boss or maybe from your team or ye hai, wo hai, and you're like, oh God, that's where you feel that you are losing control over your life.
So what is it that one should do when they wake up in the morning? How can they get out of this habit of reaching out for their phone? And what is it that they should replace that habit with? Like maybe some simple things that they can do on their bed. What is it that one can wake up with?
Neha, I generally say this. There is no right routine and there is no wrong routine. Okay. There is no one size fit all solution.
True.
Because if I say this, there might be people who say that no, checking my phone first thing in the morning really makes me productive. Okay. Some might say that, yes, Alok, what you just said, I'm able to connect with that. So I personally believe that we all are unique individuals. Our systems are different. Our routines are different. Our work is different. And our brain works in a different way. So instead of seeing routine as what is the right routine and what is the wrong routine, I think you should look at it, what is productive routine and what is non-productive routine.
For me.
Yes,
as an individual.
For me as an individual.
Right.
So if I see, and for that, in order to understand what is productive and what is non-productive, awareness is the basis of it. Awareness is the prerequisite of managing and handling anything in your life. So if you're not aware that the routine that I've been following for the last 6 months, it is not taking me anywhere, then that's a non-productive routine for you. But if you realize that whatever I've been doing, knowingly, unknowingly, consciously, unconsciously for the past 6 months, and I've seen some amazing progress that is happening in my life, continue doing that. There's no problem in that. But if you feel that I'm stuck, koi progress nahi ho raha hai, instead I'm getting into a downward spiral, I get into doom scrolling, then it's an alert state. Now there needs to be some changes that needs to be done. So ideally, it is said that the first thing in the morning when you get up, it's time for you to take control of your day. Don't allow random things, random conversations, random news to take control of your day. You take control of the day, right? One of the best ways to take control is to line up your day. कि आज मुझे करना क्या है? What are those 3 non-negotiables? What are those 2 non-negotiables? What are those 5 non-negotiables that I have to finish before I call it a day? So, number 1, if you have that list in front of you, the first thing in the morning, that will build that momentum. Okay, now I have clarity, because clarity leads to certainty. Certainty leads to confidence, right? Once you have that list, the second thing is you give some timeline to it. कि अच्छा ठीक है, these are my 3 non-negotiables. पहला वाला मैं कब करूंगा, दूसरा वाला मैं कब करूंगा, तीसरा वाला मैं कब करूंगा.
So segment your day.
Segment your. So now what you have done is you have parked time for your non-negotiable. बाकी फिर जो करना है करो.
Yeah, so that leaves you some time for personal stuff also, for self-care also.
Exactly.
And to, to find sources of joy and moments of joy in your life, which is lacking in most of our lives.
Yes. So, Neha, I've asked my mentees and my community members to follow this process called as journaling GPT. So this is a process that I've created. It's called as journaling GPT. And why GPT? Because Chat GPT was quite famous, and it is. So we thought, let's come up with a similar name so that people are able to register and recall it. So journaling GPT is wherein what I ask my mentees to do is take a diary, any diary. Just go to a stationery shop, just pick up any diary. Divide that diary into 3 parts. This is part number 1, part number 2, and part number 3. Part number 1, let's say 300 pages ka diary hai, 100, 100, 100. So the first part will be dedicated to G, which is gratitude.
Wow. Okay. That way is GPT.
Yeah, yes.
Oh, that's interesting.
Now the second 100 part is P, which is progress. Okay. And the third 100 part is task. So your gratitude, progress, and task. So this is your journaling, your gratitude journaling, your progress journaling, and task journaling. Now, I ask my people to do this before going to sleep. Not the first thing in the morning, before going to sleep.
I was going to ask you, what's the right time to journal?
Yeah. So, so you do this before going to sleep so that, you go to bed with a very peaceful state. Because now you have written down everything that you were grateful for this day. कि आज सुबह से लेकर रात तक, what am I really grateful for? Okay. So you just randomly write it down. Then you come to P, progress. What progress have I made today? Even 0.1% progress is progress. It doesn't have to be something huge.
Yeah, small wins. Celebrating small wins.
Yes, micro wins. So you just jot it down. Then you come to T, that is task. Tasks for tomorrow. So what are the tasks that I need to do tomorrow? My non-negotiable. So G is present, P is present that day, and T is the next day. Yes. So now when you do this, the next day when you get up, you have a plan ready for you. So by doing this, you'll have a lot of clarity.
So I've been doing this. I mean, I didn't know your technique, GPT, but I've been doing the task bit every day. Like before I go to sleep, I have my tomorrow's task list ready where I note down whatever I have to do, and I kind of break it down into personal, professional, and what is top priority and what is something that if I don't get done tomorrow, it's okay. It can be pushed to the next day. So I write it in order of priority, and I've seen a huge change in the way I wake up, because I don't wake up with clutter in my mind and with stress. Ki ab kya karna hai? If the planning is done in the night, morning you wake up and you just have to put the right actions in place. And I think that gets so much done. And I love cancelling it, like ticking it, like
that's a dopamine
scratching
hit.
it off, because I know I've done it. Out of 10, if I've scratched off like 8 things, I'm like, wow, Neha, that's a good day. Like, literally.
I second you on that, because that's what even I do. In fact, sometimes what I also do is some minuscule tasks. मैं वो भी लिख लेता हूँ.
हाँ, मैं भी.
Just to scratch it.
If I have to call somebody also, I'll write call this one.
Oh, yes,
and I cancel. I'm like, wow, I did the call.
And many times I have already done it, but I had not written it. So I will write it and then scratch it, because that just gives you a sense of dopamine hit, and that builds even more momentum
and motivation to keep going.
Yes.
Then you feel like, okay, I'm in control. I'm getting things done and things are moving in the right direction, right pace. Yeah. And that gets more things done. And that's how I think you become successful in whatever you want to do, and you achieve more.
Yes.
And I think there is no other route and no other path to success but doing small things and scratching off things once
Exactly.
you write them.
In fact, Neha, I'll tell you, one of the ways to deal with your mental fatigue and stress is what I call as thought dumping. Okay. So if I have to give you an analogy, see, many times, our laptop or our PC, it gets full because of there's a lot of data, and then it slows down, right? So what is advised is you take a hard drive, like external hard drive le lo, yahan ka data you just put it in the hard drive, and now the memory is free here, so it will be like smooth. The same thing happens with us. We are lining up a lot of tasks in our internal inbuilt hard drive, right? Now it is like, मुझे उसको call करना है, I have to go there, this is also pending, this is also pending. इतना कुछ होता है, and that gives us stress because there is a fear. What if I forget doing that?
Forget something. You feel overwhelmed. There's so much happening and so much I have to do.
Yes. So then what you do is you just take all those tasks, put it on a piece of paper. Now at least you are mentally relieved that I will not forget it. It's taken care of.
I've also seen a lot of people are not able to sleep at night because they are worrying about their next day.
Exactly.
So when I ask my clients, what is it that keeps you up and why are you having insomnia? Why you aren't able to sleep? Why do you have racing thoughts? Most of them say, I'm worried about the next day. बच्चों को school भेजना है, फिर काम पे जाना है, फिर ये करना है. There's so many things, right? You got to do. And I've told my clients to do this task dumping thing that you just mentioned. And they all come back to me, I feel so relieved now because when I'm putting it down on paper, it's not in my head. And then I don't have racing thoughts because I know I've done the planning bit and I can just go to sleep.
Yes.
And most people don't realize that they're thinking about their next day and that's why they can't sleep.
Yes. And it's a way of healing. It is a way of healing because there's this beautiful saying that if you can feel it, you can heal it. So in a way, in fact, there's this beautiful documentary, Neha, if you get time. I'm not sure whether you've watched it. The name of the documentary is Heal.
Yeah, I've seen it.
You've seen that? Okay, wonderful. And there are different modalities of healing, right? And when you write things, when you use somatic healing, it is basically transforming your energy, right? We are made up of energy, right? So, energy which is disturbed, that leads to disease. But energy that is streamlined via whatever modality you want to, that leads to healing.
Yeah, it creates balance.
Yes.
Which is important. Yeah. Like, I had, of course, we've all watched this movie, Jab We Met.
Yes.
And this is a beautiful thing you learned from it back then. This was many years back. कि जिस पे गुस्सा है ना, मतलब I'm not saying that you have to abuse the person on the face, but you have to release it from the system. The message is remove it from your system. Do not keep it inside. So of course, at times, most of the times, you can't go and abuse people on the face. It's not the right thing to do. You're not being civil and you're not being kind. But there are times that we are holding on to a lot that people have done to us and we have no one to speak to and share with. And then that is kind of, just we're suppressing it and it's growing inside us and there's no way to release it. Does journaling help with that as well?
It does. It does.
But one second, before you tell me, okay, I got my answer, it does, and we'll talk about that more, but are you supposed to write it and keep it or are you supposed to tear it and throw it?
No, see.
I want to know the right way of doing this.
Again, I'll say this, that there is no right way and no wrong way. Because, when it comes to human psychology, when it comes to human beings, there is no blueprint. That if you do this, you will be better. If you don't do this, then you get into some kind of superstition. Let's not get there. Okay. You are the best judge and you are your doctor. So you see what is working for you. You see what is not working for you. For some people, it is just writing it down can help them release their emotions. For some people, in fact, I remember I was talking to one of my mentees. And she was talking on the same lines that sometimes, Alok, I get so frustrated and I don't have like-minded people with whom I can talk because, everything is just getting filled inside. So we tried this technique when I told her to switch on the recorder of your your phone, and you start venting out everything that you feel.
Wow.
Get it? If you don't have anyone, you have yourself. So you use the recorder of the phone and you start saying anything and everything because the phone is not going to judge you. Okay. So you just say anything, just vomit. Okay. And then you just check, how do you feel? So for her, it was audio journaling.
Audio channel.
Audio
So verbal
channel.
vomiting.
Verbal vomiting. Yes.
Wow.
So, and that worked amazingly for her. So for some people, it is like, you tear it apart, etc., etc. And I remember in that documentary Heal, there was this lady who was going through cancer, and her, the mentor, she told her, she took her to the hilltop and she told her to take the stones, the pebbles, and throw it as far as you can with whatever emotions that you have. So that is healing for her, right? So there is no right journaling. There is no wrong journaling. There are varieties of journaling. You see, you check, you try, you taste, you feel what makes sense to you.
So what are the different types of journaling? Can you take us through them?
Yes.
So people can obviously, then it's easier for them to choose what works for them and what resonates with them.
Yes. First of all, thought dumping, wherein, when, for example, let's say if you catch yourself having a lot of overthinking, and today a lot of people have overthinking.
We're
My
stuck
mind
in a
is
loop of thoughts. It's just playing on loop, literally.
Yes. And I have gone deeper into overthinking, and what I realized is that overthinking is not about having multiple thoughts. It is about having similar thoughts multiple times. It is just like you are stuck in a loop. It's like you're on a roundabout and you don't know which exit to take. Aap gol gol ja rahe ho, like I'm not reaching anywhere. You will not reach anywhere.
And it's exhausting.
It is exhausting. Yes, you're losing your fuel. So the same thing happens with overthinking. So in such case, you just take a paper and a pen and write what is your mind obsessed with. It can be one thought, it can be a couple of thoughts. What is your mind obsessed with? So aap wo likh lo, you will get a lot of clarity. Once you have those thoughts in front of you, then ask yourself, what can I do about it? Just writing it down will not help you. It will help you to feel good that, okay, now I know what is bothering me. Uske baad kya?
No solution. You need
solution. No solution. Uske baad you ask yourself, okay, what can I do about this? Can I do something about it? If yes, do it. If you cannot do anything about it, leave it. Because banging your head on the wall will not help you with anything. True. So this is called as thought journaling or thought dumping. The second type of journaling is, I call it as creative journaling. So creative journaling is wherein, our mind we keep on getting a lot of creative thoughts, right? लेकिन जब implement करना है ना तो वो याद नहीं आता.
Right.
So and like, I had a good idea.
Especially in the washroom.
Yeah.
When you're bathing, somehow I think because water has this flowing energy, your creative juices also start flowing when you're taking a shower. You get so many amazing ideas, but once you're out of the shower, you forget all those ideas. You're like, what was I thinking? And they were really some amazing stuff that your mind brings up. But yaad nahi rehta hai jab bahar aate hain. So
this is one of the reasons what I do is I either use my phone, the notes in the phone. So for example, when you're traveling, sometimes you're in the cab, you're in the car, and some amazing thought just crosses your mind. Likh lo. Because as it is said, we get around about 60 to 70,000 thoughts every day. And most of the thoughts are repetitive. So that golden star, that nugget that just passes by, you just write. So I call it as creative journaling. The third type of journaling is very effective. I call it as emotional journaling. So emotional journaling is wherein you need to understand your emotional patterns. Okay. So for example, let's say take an Excel sheet or Excel pe on the y-axis, you put the hours of the day, right? Like 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, वैसे. On the x-axis, you have the days, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So जो सारे cells है ना, so now what do you do is, Monday, 9 o'clock. How am I feeling right now?
It's like the big boss of emotions.
Oh,
Subah 9 baje, dophar 12:30 baje, raat ke 10 baje.
And you need to do it in real time. You cannot park time later in the evening ये सोचने के लिए कि आज 9 बजे how was I feeling? Then, that would be distorted journaling. You need to real time, what am I feeling right now? You just write it down. Am I feeling sad? I'm feeling happy. I'm feeling anxious, irritated, frustrated. There's anxiety. There is stress. There is worry. What is it that I'm feeling? And there are some reference emotional charts which are available. Anyone can pick that up from Google. You just type in emotional charts and you will get those emotional. Take it as a reference because our emotional vocabulary is weak. We only have some few core emotions that we know: anger, sadness, happiness, वगैरह वगैरह. So if you take that emotional chart as analysis, as a reference point, and then when you do that emotional journaling, by the end of the entire week, if you do it for a week, you will get a lot of data points. If you want to go a step deeper, you also can color code it. Like all the positive emotions, you give colors like violet and blue and yellow and good ones. Okay. And the aggressive emotions or the sad or the negative emotions, you can give colors which are on a darker side. Right. So because our visual context is better than, our intellectual context. So then when you look at that chart, you will realize that, the mean, if I take out the mean of this chart, is more on a negative side. If you want to go a little bit deeper into emotional journaling, when you are in real time, when you're writing that, okay, I'm feeling angry, anxious, sad, or whatever it is, in next column, you also write down the reason behind it. That why am I feeling anxious right now? Okay, there's a meeting which is coming up, there's this presentation which is coming up, or there's this team, whatever it is. So at the end of the week, you will know the core reason that makes you uncomfortable. Then you can, so ultimately what you're doing by all this is, you are becoming aware of what is the reason for my emotional uneasiness.
Okay? And then how do you find a solution for that?
And then you see that, okay, what can I do about it? So for example, let's say, every time when there is a meeting, every time when there is a presentation, every time I have to go for a client meeting, every time I have to talk to this person in particular, every time when this comes up, I become uncomfortable.
So these are your triggers.
These are your triggers. So this is called as trigger awareness, right? Once the trigger awareness is done, then comes preparation. So now the next time when I have to face this trigger, how will I, prepare myself before that? See, the thing is, Neha, agar aapko pata hi nahi hai that why are you feeling what you are feeling for most of the times in your day or week, how will you solve it?
How will you heal it?
How will you heal it? Exactly. So in order to heal it, you need to first know that what is putting you there. And then you do something about it. Right? So, whenever we go to a doctor, so doctor will ask you to run tests. Wo kya karte hain? To know what is the reason. Only then the treatment starts. So until and unless you don't do this journaling, how will you know what is the reason? So treatment chalu kaise hogi?
True. Yeah. And then what is the other type of journaling?
So I think these are three main journaling types. And apart from that, then the journaling GPT that we spoke about, it covers the majority of the aspects.
But they also say that when you wake up in the morning, your subconscious is very active. So there's something called as morning pages, where you just get up and write any and every thought that's coming onto the paper. And then it will give you a lot of insights of your own thoughts that you never knew even existed. And then you may also find answers to a lot of your problems in that. So do you also believe like in the morning journaling is a good thing?
What I would say here is that I would call it as morning context setting. Okay. It is like when you get up in the morning, you rightly said that it is a very, very productive time because your mind is open. At that moment of time, there's a lot of potential. Now the question is, what kind of context and what kind of direction you want to give to yourself. Okay. If I ask you that you have two choices. Number one, you watch a motivational movie or you watch a horror movie as soon as you get up. Which one will you choose?
Motivation.
Of course. Why? Because that will set your mindset. That will set the tonality and the flavor of your day. Because then you will start operating from that level of consciousness. Right? So similarly, when you get up in the morning, I would say, if it can be a prayer for you, or it can be a ritual for you, it can be an affirmation, it can be a set of affirmations, or it can be any positive statements that you want to write. So basically, do anything that will set a positive and a powerful context for your day.
Okay.
It can be anything. Now again, one size fit all. No, I will not say that aapko yahi karna chahiye. You see what will help you. It can be a song. You can dance on a song. You can wake up on a song. Whatever makes you feel good.
Nice. Okay. So that's amazing. Actually, I learned so much about journaling, which I always wanted to, because there are so many ways and so many types of journaling. But I think you've given us an overview of everything in such a beautiful manner. I also want to talk about negative thinking. We spoke about overthinking, but sometimes we have these negative thoughts which pop up in our head, and then they just get out of control. How do we cut through them? How do we not believe our negative thoughts? Sometimes people have negative thoughts and they start acting upon them. not realizing that they're just thoughts and I need to let them pass. And of course, it affects their body and their health as well. But how can one navigate through these negative thoughts and not believe in them?
See, the thing is, when we talk about negative thoughts, the first step, Neha, is to catch yourself drowning in those negative thoughts. Because for most of the people, they are not even realizing that they are drowning in that ocean of negative thoughts. And it is like a negative spiral. आपको पता ही नहीं चलता कि आप कभी उसमें घुस चुके हो, in that emotional swamp. Because negative thought is such that it will take you to the worst case scenario. You start from one point, and then in the next few minutes or few seconds, you're somewhere else. You start thinking about all the things that can go wrong. ऐसा हुआ तो, वैसा हुआ तो. So it's called as the what if thinking. If this happens, if that happens. Now, the step number one is to catch yourself being consumed by those negative thoughts, because that is very crucial. If you don't catch yourself, you'll not be able to do anything about it, right? So once you catch yourself getting consumed by negative thoughts, the second step is to identify the source of the negative thoughts. Now, there can be two sources. The negative thought is either rooting from your past or it is rooting from the future. Acha, past matlab kya? Maybe, you were at a party, you were at an event, you had a conversation with someone or something that happened. Okay. You were in an interview and some blunder happened. Okay. Now, today you are sitting in your office, in your house, in your bathroom, wherever it is, and you are consumed by what happened yesterday, day before yesterday, or 1 week back. And you keep on fighting it, saying that, how can this happen? How can he talk to me like this? How can she talk to me like that? Ye aise mere sath kaise hua? Kaise kar sakte hain? And all that stuff. So you are filled with rage, you are filled with questions, you are filled with confusion, you are filled with anger. Right? Or it can also be you ended up saying something or doing something to someone, and now you are feeling bad about yourself.
Guilty.
There's regret. How can I do? I'm so stupid. Now you are constantly in that. So the source here is past. Or it can be the future. There's something which is lined up and you're constantly thinking, what if this doesn't happen? What if I'm not able to give my best? What if I fail? How will I be judged? Etc., etc. So either the source of your negative thinking is your past or the source of your negative thinking is the future. So step number one is to catch yourself getting consumed in the negative thoughts. Step number two is to identify the source, whether it is the past or the future. And step number three is then to ask yourself, what can I do about it?
So if it's in your control, you take action and make it right. If it's not, then how do you let it go?
So, for example, let's say, if you realized that this negative thinking is coming from my actions, that I ended up saying something I shouldn't have said that. This was not right on my part, and now this is just eating me up. What can you do about it? Can you go back and undo that event? You cannot do that. Right? Okay. So can you take ownership of your mistake? Yes. Taking ownership of your mistake starts the healing process. Till the time you are in a state of denial, you are creating more problems for yourself. But the time you say that, okay, I realize my mistake, I shouldn't have said that, I'm sorry. Even if you're telling this sorry, you're telling sorry to a wall or just to yourself, that itself starts the healing process.
You're acknowledging it.
You're acknowledging and you're taking the ownership. Acha, apart from that, can you call that person? Can you gather the courage to call that person and tell that person, I'm really sorry? That will, fasten the process of healing, and then you'll be able to feel better. You'll come out of it. That is one. Now, number two, if you realize that this is coming from some kind of toxicity, some kind of favoritism, how can they do this? How can they do that? Etc., etc. Can you go and change them? No, you cannot. Can you make them understand? No. Can you change their personality? No, nothing. Can you make them wiser? No, you cannot. Okay, now what do you do? So if you have learned something from this, then try to build your boundaries, try to be assertive, try to be upfront, try to notice the red flags from here onwards, and make sure that now you build a system for yourself that when it comes to these kind of people, I will not engage. So that I don't experience the same hurt and pain again.
Yeah. So you'll be careful.
You'll be careful
of who you're spending your energy with.
Yes. And if you realize that this negative thinking is coming from the future, aisa hua to, vaisa hua to, then the best thing is preparation. So for example, let's say if you have a presentation which is lined up and there's this constant negative thoughts that what if I goof up? What if I go blank? What if I'm not able to give my best? What if someone, laughs at me or judges me, etc., etc. Okay, can you prepare? Can you prepare? Can you prepare? Can you become better at it? Because preparation leads to certainty. Right? The more you prepare, better you will be in terms
more
of
confident you'll
more
feel.
confident.
Wow. So that's how you get over your negative thinking.
Yes, that's how. I won't say that you'll be able to get over your negative thinking, but I would say that you will be in a better state.
You'll be able to navigate it.
You'll be able to navigate.
You'll know how to get through it, if
Yes.
not over it.
Yes.
Right. I also want to talk about emotional intelligence. When I was reading your profile, I saw you teach people emotional intelligence.
Yes.
Now I think it's so important in today's day and age because most of us are roaming like emotional dump yards. We have emotions in ourselves and we've not processed them very well. And we clearly aren't using any intelligence when it comes to emotions. So I want to know first, what is emotional intelligence and how does one become emotionally intelligent?
Honestly, Neha, if you look at this word emotional intelligence, it's an oxymoron. Because emotions and intelligence cannot go hand in hand. It cannot go. And this is one of the reasons they said that when emotions are high, intelligence is low.
Yeah.
Right? वो कहते हैं ना प्यार में अंधे हो जाना.
प्यार में गुस्से में I think सब चीज में अंधे हो जाते हैं.
Exactly. And you must have noticed, like most of the times we end up taking certain decisions for which we have guilt and regret in the state of high emotions.
Yeah.
And we end up getting angry, we end up snapping at people. Later on we realize, and then we say that in the heat of the moment, I ended up saying it. So what was that heat of the moment? That was the peak of your emotion, right? So, and I tell this that never make a promise when you're happy and never take a decision when you're sad or angry. Otherwise you will end up creating blunders. Okay, so what is emotional intelligence? Emotional intelligence is a very wide term, and it is basically a state of mind wherein you are aware about your emotions. The thing is, I ask this to my students also, that imagine that you are riding a horse. Do you want the horse to decide where to go? Or do you want to decide where you want to go with the horse? Okay. And just think about it. What if you sit in an Uber or an Ola and the driver tells you, "आप बैठो शांति से, मैं लेके जाता हूँ." You will be panicked.
Yeah.
भाई नहीं, मैंने डाला है वो उसमें destination. Take me there, right? So just think about it. What will happen to your life if your emotions are driving your car? Every day you will be crashing yourself, right? So emotional intelligence is a process wherein you are aware of what am I feeling right now? Do I want to feel that? If not, then how do I regulate? How do I change my emotional state? Right? So it all starts with emotional awareness. And it is not just about understanding your emotions, but it is also comprehending, understanding, being sensitive, empathetic, and sympathizing with what the other person is feeling. And that's where you'll be able to have a better conversation with that individual. Right? So when it comes to emotional intelligence, I generally look at it as 3 stages. It starts with emotional awareness, then it goes to emotional regulation, and then we reach emotional mastery. Okay. So it all starts with emotional awareness. For example, let's say, day in and day out, if I see myself staying triggered or anxious or irritated or angry for that matter, if I don't know why am I in that state, I'll end up creating blunders. Yes or no. I'll not be able to talk properly with people. I'll not be able to be decisive. I'll not be able to, be creative. And I'll be like a headless chicken running here and there.
Because you'll be clouded with your emotions.
Yes.
It's not going to be a clear state of mind. It's going to be a cloud of your emotions, which is directing your actions.
Exactly. Because how we feel is how we act. Our thoughts define our feelings and our feeling defines our actions. So it's in any and every situation, whether you are a student, whether you are an entrepreneur, whether you are a working professional, whether you are a homemaker, no matter what you do as your profession, in any and every area of your life or any time of your day, whenever you are not feeling good, there's some emotional uneasiness. The first thing, Neha, that everyone needs to do is to understand what you are feeling. Awareness. What am I feeling? Now, if you're feeling good, if everything is fine, if you're happy, if you're calm, if you're regulated, there's no problem. Continue with what you're doing. But kahin pe bhi, if you experience an emotional jerk, and our environment is defining and deciding our emotions. Yes or no? One phone call, one email ID, one WhatsApp message, and you lose your cool. Okay. So if you realize that there is a bump, an emotional bump, number one, you understand what you're feeling. Number two, if it is negative, it's time to regulate it. By regulation, simply I mean is you change the direction of your feelings, your emotions.
How do
we do that? Yeah. One of the best ways to do that is by asking a smart question to yourself. Because questions, when asked in the right manner, will help you change your focus. And when you change your focus, you change your feelings.
Right.
So for example, let's say if I ask you right now, what are the good things, Neha, that happened to you since morning today? Now you're completely focused on all the good things that happened.
Yeah. You want me to answer?
Yes.
Okay. So got ready on time, got the podcast setup done on time, finished the first shoot on time, the first guest that came on my podcast, and sitting with you and now having a great conversation, and everything is going on time seamlessly, very comfortably, not overwhelmed, relaxed. Yeah.
Awesome.
These are the good things that happened since morning.
Now, how do you feel about it?
Good.
You
great.
feel good. You
rounded.
Exactly. You feel certain about your day. You feel productive. You feel happy. You feel proud of yourself.
Yeah.
If I ask you, now tell me, what can you think of? All that didn't go as per your plan since morning.
By God's grace, today everything went by plan, as per plan. But
now your mind is not able to even comprehend कि क्या गलत हुआ.
क्या गलत हुआ यार? मुझे पता ही नहीं सुबह से.
Yes, because now you already primed your mind to think about the positive.
Yeah, right? Is that why I'm not able to see?
See, in a way, when it is, I'm sure you will agree to this, that when you are happy, when you're really in a happy state, छोटी-छोटी mistakes भी अगर किसी से हो जाती है ना, you don't take it so seriously.
Yeah, you overlook them. You don't get affected by them.
And with a smile, you say that it's okay. Yeah. Right? But when you are having a bad day, एक छोटी सी mistake, even it is not a mistake, you just get hyper about it. Right?
A pin becomes a mountain.
Exactly.
Sure.
So it all depends on how you prime yourself. And this is one of the reasons, what we spoke about, taking charge of your morning. If you prime yourself with something positive, your entire day, you tend to stay positive.
So that was emotional regulation.
So emotional regulation is how, when you ask a certain, for example, we'll take an example. Let's say, while I was coming to the studio today, okay, and I had a certain thing in my mind that I will leave my house by this time so that I reach the studio by this time, and it is going to take me 1 hour to travel, etc., etc. I had all the calculations in my mind. Now, in the middle of the road, if I realize that there's so much of traffic and time kam nahi ho raha hai, time बढ़ रहा है, in fact, when I look at Google Maps. Now, what happens is a little bit of restlessness starts. A little bit of irritation starts. A little bit of frustration. Now, all this frustration, irritation is channelized towards what? Channelized towards the traffic, towards the person who are honking in the traffic, the roads, why are they not getting made, and why
all
are they...
things out of your control, basically.
Yes, exactly. So now everywhere your attention is going, it is making you even more irritated. Number one, I'm aware. Why is this happening? Now I need to regulate it. So how do I regulate it? Okay. I start asking questions to myself. Okay, what can I do about it? Can I do anything about the traffic right now? No. Okay, can I do anything about the roads right now? No. Can I ask the driver to not drive but fly my cab and reach? No, that's not possible yet.
Yeah.
We don't know about the future. Okay, so what is in my control? What can I do about it? Okay. Can I call Neha And can I call Neha's team to say that I'll be late by
That you
30
can.
minutes? I can. Okay, will that solve my problem? Till some extent. Will that put me in a state of relaxation for some time? Yes. Let me do that. So when I focus on my controllables, and how will I get to know about my controllables? When I ask smart questions to myself. So when I start doing that, automatically I'll feel better about it. So this is called as emotional regulation. Instead of banging your head on the wall, you see what is movable, you move that. Right? If you keep on taking this approach, emotional awareness, emotional regulation, emotional awareness, emotional regulation, then what happens is you tend to stay in control of a situation, a stressful situation. That leads to emotional mastery. Emotional mastery doesn't mean that you will never ever feel angry. Emotional mastery doesn't mean that all those negative emotions will not exist in your life. They will exist in your life, but their hold on you will be less.
And that's how you'll be able to regulate your emotions, and you will allow yourself to control the emotions and not the other way around.
Yes.
Now, we spoke about emotional intelligence, and I want to touch upon certain emotions that we go through, like grief, anger. These are the emotions which we feel in our day-to-day life.
Yeah.
And at times, we'll end up reacting and then feeling guilty about reacting, which you spoke about already. But how can we get to a point of responding? What are the steps that we need to take, or what mindfulness actions we need to be aware of, so that we respond and get our message through without letting our anger take over and come in the way, and then do things that we may have to repent later?
See, the thing is, Neha, everything boils down to first understanding what is happening inside you. For example, let's say if I ask you right now, in any situation, let's say when you're talking to your team, or you're talking to your family member, you're talking to anyone for that matter, and when you see that things are not happening as per your expectation, or this person is not understanding, yaar, kitni baar bolu main ek hi cheez, or you are trying to put your message across, but that person is not responding the way you want him or her to respond, you start getting uncomfortable. Yes or no?
Yeah, exactly.
You start getting. Can you catch yourself getting uncomfortable? Can you catch? Because that's a very important step.
That's the weak point. That's a tipping point also, because I think most of the time when you don't catch yourself, you've already gone on the other side and it's too late.
Exactly. It's too late, because your emotions, they are like underwater currents. You're not able to see. They are intangible, right? See, emotions are intangible. अगर वो tangible होता, just like a visitor, you don't want this person to enter your house, आप बोले अरे मत आना अंदर, है ना? कौन हो भाई, किससे मिल? Because you are able to see that person. Now just think of your emotion, a negative emotion, as an unwanted visitor. But you are not able to see that visitor. So वो आ जाता है, अपना काम करके चला भी जाता है. And then you later on realize, अरे ये कौन था? You get it? So step number 1 is to identify your anger getting in your body. Okay. Step number 2, which I tell my mentees also, that step number 2 is wherein you just stay mum for 15 seconds.
That's the toughest part.
That's the toughest part. But that cannot, see, वो तो आप कर ही नहीं सकते. You cannot do that until and unless you don't catch anger coming in. Right? So there will be a lot of compulsiveness. Your body will fight to give it back. Your body will fight because it's our instinct. We are in a survival mode at that point of time. Someone has challenged your ego. Yeah. Someone has challenged your self-image, your self-respect. Yeah. Someone has challenged your survival mechanism.
You feel threatened.
You feel threatened and you want to give it back.
Yeah.
You want to give it back. No, I cannot take this. So at that point of time, your body will fight. Your body wants to give it back. But that's where you just have to keep mum for 15 seconds. Now, why do I say 15 seconds? Because, your body is like a chemical factory. Adrenaline, noradrenaline, cortisol, ye sara, this cocktail happens in the body. It is released in our bloodstream. Science says that these neurotransmitters, they stay in the bloodstream for 7 to 8 seconds. And till the time they're in the bloodstream, we are possessed by them. So the fight and flight is on. The amygdala is active, right? Your prefrontal cortex is not working for you. It is working against you. So if you stay mum for 15 seconds, that surge will come down. That dilution will happen. And once that happens, you will feel calmer. You will feel relaxed. Your heartbeat will start, going down. Be relaxed. Then you ask yourself this question: what is the best possible way to respond right now? And if you do that, your mind will respond. But this all happens in like a minute or so. But in order to do that, practice is required.
To catch it.
To
nip it in the bud.
Exactly.
Literally.
Exactly. So this will not happen from day one. Day one, you will blast. And then you will realize ye nahi karna tha. Then the next episode, sometimes you are about to blast and you will realize ye nahi karna hai.
फिर याद आ जाता है नहीं करना है.
ये नहीं करना है. That, I remember I was talking to one of my mentee in my mindfulness community. This guy, he's an entrepreneur and a very well-off organization he heads. And he says that this is a second generation business I'm taking forward from my dad. And he told me that, Alok, my reason to take up mindfulness and my reason to join you is that I remember in one of my meetings, I blasted on my manager. And that person blasted on my manager. And that too in front of the whole team. And later on, he said that when I came into my cabin, I felt so bad about myself. That how can I do this? I was so inhuman. I was so insensitive. And that's where he said that, no, I need to do something about it. And that's where he transitioned into mindfulness. And he started practicing it. And he's like, now I'm so calmer.
Yeah.
So this is how mindfulness can really make.
Because it affects your relationships around you. It affects every aspect. Work, home, every relationship. Because what you're feeling is then being spilled into your relationships. And then obviously nobody's a punching bag. It's just you who has to regulate yourself and make sure that you come out in the most clear and assertive way and not come out as somebody who's being controlled by their emotions. And I think that is so important.
What you have is what you give, right?
Yeah.
If you have all the irritation and frustration and all filth and nonsense in you, that is what you will keep on serving to people.
Yeah. No, but there are times where people do push your buttons and they are not, like at workplaces and maybe at home, they're not matching up to your expectation. Maybe they're not doing their work as expected, or maybe they're just not honoring what they are meant to do. How do you communicate with them and how do you kind of get your message through without losing your calm and cool?
See, the thing is, you will find both kinds of people who are unknowingly pushing your buttons. And then you'll also have some cartoons who are knowingly pushing your buttons.
Yeah.
Right? So you will find these kind of people. So the first thing is, instead of being judgmental, be curious. Now, generally what happens is, we become so very judgmental about people. Ye to hai hi aisa, ye to hai hi aisa. This is what he does every time. This is what she does. We label people. And we put them in a box. We generalize. So this is our mistake. Because if you generalize, you'll not be able to deal in the right way. Maybe that was a genuine question that the person had. That was a genuine doubt that the person had. That was a genuine fear that the person had. I remember I was talking to one of my mentees and she said that I head this particular department and my boss, and I'm giving my blood, sweat and everything in this job, and she knows that. I'm bringing so much on my table, in terms of value, and she knows that. But every time, when she talks to me via the email or via the WhatsApp message or whatever it is so very cold. And this triggers her. Ki, why? Why can't you be nice to me? I'm doing so much. Look at how much I'm working. Why can't you send a good email? Why is it very cold messages? And this is what we were discussing. I told her, hold on. Can you clarify this with her? That this is how her act and her behavior is making you feel. Can you do this? Instead of you creating stories in your mind, can you just send a mail pouring your heart out saying that, Madam, I just want to have a heart-to-heart connection with you, talked with you. I know this is not the protocol, but this is what I feel. And this is what is affecting my work and a lot of things. She did that. To her surprise, her boss, she said sorry.
Yeah, because sometimes you don't do it knowingly. You just don't realize that the other person has a certain kind of an expectation or, just wants you to be a certain way with them. And communication, I think, really helps.
Exactly. She told that this is how I am. I'm really sorry if I made you feel this way. And from that day onwards, they have an amazing conversation. So sometimes it's better to not be judgmental. Be curious. Why is she doing this or why? But now, if you know that this is how he is, or this
Those
is
are
how
the
she-
tricky people.
Yes. If you have a narcissist in your in your circle, maybe your boss or maybe one of your colleague for that matter.
Not even a narc, but somebody who just takes it very lightly and doesn't realize that it matters to you.
Yes.
And then doesn't honor what they have promised, or
Yes.
whatever, for that matter.
Maybe insensitive. You
Maybe
can call them insensitive.
Or not cognizant about it,
Yes.
not really realizing that
Yes.
they're not matching up to what they've promised. Things like that. Not necessarily a narc. That's an extreme category, but I'm talking about people in general.
Yeah. So in that case, number one is to identify their patterns. Identifying the patterns are very important. That when I do this, this is how he or she responds. When I'm about to say this, this is how she or he, intrudes my conversation. When I'm trying to showcase my win, this is how they put me down. Things like that. When you so number one is identify the patterns. Number two is learn to be assertive. That assertiveness is very important. Being vocal is because what we like doing is we always want to move away from difficult conversations.
Yeah.
We always want to keep ourselves away from, any kind of negative conversations or, assertive, those kind of So that's where we try to play safe. But now the question is, Neha, if you don't say no, you are saying yes. So if you don't let them know that this is making me uncomfortable and don't appreciate this, then indirectly you're telling that person that you can continue doing whatever you want to. Right? So it's very important to set your boundaries, be vocal about it.
And there's a thin line between assertiveness and aggressiveness.
Yes.
And usually most of us cross that boundary without realizing that.
Yeah. Because emotions take over.
So that's where I think emotional intelligence has to come into picture.
We can say no with a smile. Right? We can be sweet, we can have a smile, but at the same time, we can also be firm in our tonality. Right? We can do it. It's not impossible.
Why aren't we taught these skills in school? Like, these are life skills.
Exactly.
Which should be taught in school.
Exactly.
What are we doing with history, geography? We need to understand how to understand our own mental geography.
When did the
and emotional
Mughals
history
come to India? Yeah.
I mean, we need that education more than anything.
Exactly.
And how do you deal with toxic people at work, at home, in relationships? And, sometimes it just gets onto us because they will not budge. They will not change. And I think that's where a narc or people who are, just very ego-centered come into the picture. But how do you deal with toxic people at work?
I was learning about a particular study which was done on narcissistic people. And the study was quite an eye-opener. The study said that a narcissist cannot be reversed because their brain functions in a different way. And if they are in that state for a few years, like 2 or 3 years, it becomes permanently ingrained. You cannot reverse that behavior. And then there are enablers. Like a narcissist will always have enablers who are actually strengthening that behavior of his or her. And the environment is one of the biggest enabler because they very well know how to, build that environment for them. Then it becomes very difficult to, break that castle for them. So number one, if you find such people, letting them do what they're doing is a big no-no. Because many times people say that, what if this toxic person is a part of my family?
Yeah.
Right? Now, Alok, it's very easy for you to say this, that you should draw your boundary, you should be assertive, you should be vocal, you should say no. It's very easy for you to say this. But what if that person is right next to me, we are living in the same house, under the same roof, then what do I do? My question to you, Neha, is that, let's say, if you are living with a person or if you have a person in your life who physically hits you or harms you, okay? And then you have a person maybe in your office or maybe in your social circle who physically hits you and harms you. Will you have different rules for both these people?
No.
No. Why? Because आप ये नहीं बोलोगे ये तो मेरे खून का रिश्ता है तो ये मेरा खून पी सकता है.
No, obviously not.
That's not the logic,
You can't
right?
allow vampires in your life in any sphere of your life.
Exactly. You cannot say that हाँ वो office वाला तो ठीक है दूर का है so I will not let this happen.
Yeah.
Okay. But हाँ ये तो मेरे घर का है ना. मेरे रिश्ते में है.
I think that's where the biggest problem comes
Yeah.
up, because you can't retaliate with your own people living at home, because you have to live with them, you have to deal with them every day, and then your sanity gets affected. You just don't find your sane space. Home is supposed to be your sane space, your safe space, but that doesn't remain that anymore with those kind of people. That's why I think what people do is kind of withdraw and let them do what they're doing and not kind of try to stand up for themselves. But I don't know how much that works.
See, number one is let them know that you are not comfortable with certain actions of theirs. This is step number one. This has to be a non-negotiable. You need to let them know. Okay. Number two is, as you rightly said, withdraw yourself. You don't have to have deep conversations with them. And maybe they'll try to trigger you. Knowingly, unknowingly, they'll try to. But every time you see that happening, just withdraw yourself. Okay. Now, if you see, Neha, somewhere, it also comes from our conditioning and parenting as well. I come across like many cases when I'm talking to people, and they say that they have a lot of childhood trauma. In their bachpan mein, in their childhood, someone misbehaved, or there was abuse, any kind of, it can be verbal, emotional, physical, any kind of. As a child, when they asked for help, the parents said that, जाने दो ना, उसमें क्या है, कौन सी बड़ी बात है ना, वो चाचा ही तो है, मामा ही तो है, मौसी ही तो है, चाची ही तो है, तो घर की बात है, उसमें क्या है, वो तो बड़े तो डांटते ही है, right? So what is the message which is given to the child?
It's normal.
It's okay. It's normal. This is normal, right? Now, the same thing happens in your friend circle, or the same thing happens in the society, where there are abuses which are exchanged. You don't take it seriously. ये तो normal है. When you go in a corporate world, and when your boss misbehaves with you, or maybe abuses you, or doesn't treat you the way you deserve, and when you share this with your colleague, or when you share this with someone, they say that उसमें कौन सी बड़ी बात है, गाली तो खानी पड़ती है,
सब जगह होता है,
सब जगह होता है,
yeah.
कौन सी बड़ी बात है,
it's normalized actually.
It's normalized.
These behaviors are normalized in our society.
Yes. And this is one of the reasons where people think that this is okay. But your body is not agreeing to it. Your body is not agreeing to the fact that this is okay. Because your body gets threatened, the amygdala is active, all those, the hormones are secreted, you are in a constant state of stress and anxiety, fight and flight. And this is disturbing, and it's breaking your immune system. And that's where you fall sick, and that's where everything happens. We all know about the recent EY case, right? What happened?
Yeah.
And long working hours were normalized. When this girl tried to reach out to her manager, they said that this is normal. Everyone works. So the message which was given is, everyone works for these many hours. Are you special? So what will that individual do?
Yeah, so recently we saw L&T chairman S.N. Subramaniam passing a very nasty statement that employees should work all days, including Sundays. And what are they going to sit at home and do? Stare at their wife all day? And I think that is so
90 hours
inhuman and unempathetic in so many ways.
Yeah.
And I think it's only in India where we are promoting this hustle culture, where we want people to work more and more and more. Whereas in the West, you see Iceland, Finland, Sweden, Japan, they all are coming up with some amazing rules where, it's just a 40-hour work week. And you have like weekends, Friday, Saturday, Sundays are off. And that clearly shows that they care about their citizens. They care about the mental, emotional health, because working for so many hours is only burning people out. Where is the productivity? It's out of the window.
Exactly. Neha, honestly, there was a study which was done which said that even though people are working for 9 hours a day, even though people are working like from 9 to 5, whatever it is, the core productive work is only for 3 or 4 hours. That's it. उससे ज़्यादा काम हो ही नहीं रहा है. 3 से 4 घंटे के से ज़्यादा, there is no work happening. Because then there are meetings, and then there are this coffee breaks and tea breaks and all the other things that you keep on doing, that takes up a lot of the space, right? So I think the focus should be more on the quality of work and not the quantity of work, right? And if people say that, if leaders, they step up and say that, no, we need a 90-hour work week, that clearly shows system failure. By system failure, what I mean is that you don't have systems, you don't have processes which are able to make people focus on quality work.
Yeah.
But instead, what you are doing is you need to work for 90 hours so that chalo kuch to productivity niklegi.
Yeah.
So this is system failure. I remember Anand Mahindra, he said that for me it is more about quality over quantity. And that it's not about how much you work. It's about how deep you work.
How well you work. Yeah, that's so true, because how can somebody work for so many hours, not take a Sunday off, and then give you the best results? I mean, you can expect this out of an AI or a robot, but you can't expect it out of a human being. It's not possible.
It's not possible.
And what about multitasking? I've seen like multitasking is really considered as a superpower. Again, in our society, it's applauded. People who do multitasking are really seen as some great achievers because, oh wow, you can manage so many things together. And especially women, they multitask a lot. They are handling house, work, home, the kids. They are handling so many things at one time. And we encourage multitasking at home, in offices, whereas we all know what multitasking is doing to us. But I want you to throw light on how, again, we can cut through the multitasking culture and focus on one thing, because clearly we have a one-point focus mind.
See, the thing is, my take on multitasking, Neha, is that human beings simply cannot multitask. We cannot. So if people are saying that we are multitasking, they are not. They are basically task switching. And it's called as rapid task switching. Multitasking ho hi nahi raha. So, okay, let's understand this word multitasking. Okay. Multitasking, it comes from computers. When you have you look at a computer, it has multiple processors. Right? Aapki Excel sheet khuli hai. Then there is a presentation which is open. You are listening to a song. So the audio player is there. Maybe you are watching something on the internet. So even that is there. So this is called as multitasking, wherein there are 5 different functions which are simultaneously running without the quality dipping. Now, you tell me, can you do 5 things right now and give your 100% in all the 5 tasks?
Not at all.
It's not possible.
Our body is multitasking because it's doing so many things, but our mind cannot.
Mind cannot. Right now, if I ask you to focus on 5 things which are there right now. So I've lined up 5 things and I want you to see those 5 things. Focus on those 5 things. If I tell you, Neha, focus on those 5 things. Your natural question would be, where do I focus first?
Yeah.
Hey, Gini,
yeah.
How can I focus on 5 things? You can only focus on one thing. So it's ridiculous to even ask yourself or someone to multitask. So basically, we are just switching the task from 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4, 4 to 2, 2 to 3 again.
Yeah, because we have multiple tabs open and we are just switching the tabs.
We are just switching. Now, the problem with multitasking is that, number one, you are not able to maintain your quality. You lose your momentum and you're not able to give your best. Okay. There's an activity. Okay. Now I don't know how will be able to do it, but okay. So I'll just explain you what the activity is. So the activity is that, on one side, and all of our viewers can do this, take a piece of paper. And on one side, you just write down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay. So what you're going to do is just adjacent to 1, you write down A. Adjacent to 2, you'll write down B.
Okay.
Adjacent to 3, you'll write down C. Okay. So 1A, 2B, 3. So this is how you have to write till 15. Okay. 1A,
2B, 3C,
2B, 3C,
4D,
4D, 5E. And while you're writing this, you keep a timer on just to see how many seconds you take to write this till 15. 1A adjacent. Then you do this again, wherein you start the timer, but this time you first write down 1 to 15 and then you write down A, B, C, D, E, F, G. The timer is like it cuts down by half.
Oh.
Yes. So maybe to write down 1A, 2B, it took, let's say, 50 seconds. And if you do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, ABCD, it will take 25 seconds.
Yeah.
Okay. So basically, when you are doing one thing at a time, you build something called as a flow state. And then when you switch to a different kind of task, you build a flow state again. But if you keep on switching from 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4, you're not able to build that.
So you don't get anything done basically. You're just working through the day, exhausting yourself. But by the end of the day, you're like, I didn't get anything done.
Yes. I'll give you another analogy. Imagine that you are on a highway, on a national highway, and it's completely empty. And now you have picked up a speed of 100 kilometers and you're driving at a speed of 100 kilometers.
Yeah.
Okay? Compared to this, you are in the city wherein you're taking up a speed of 30 to 40, and after 40 you see a speed breaker, again you go to 0 or you go to 5, then again you pick it up, you reach to 50 or 60, again there is a speed breaker, you come to. So basically what is happening is, Neha, that you know that every time you have to race it again, you're burning your fuel and there's tension on the engine. So if this keeps on happening at every speed breaker, your engine is going through a lot of pressure, compared to when you're on the highway, you're just flawlessly riding.
And the time it takes for you to reach to your destination is also...
Yes. And even you save the fuel.
Slower in the speed breaker bit, right?
Exactly. So this is the same thing that the brain goes through. Yeah.
So we have to focus on one task at a time, complete it, and then move on to the next task.
Yeah. Okay. So the best thing is prioritization over multitasking. So you just prioritize. For example, let's say if you are at your work and you're working on a particular project or a PPT or writing an email, and there is a phone call that comes and that person says that, I need this report right now. So you don't leave this and switch on that. You just tell that person, can I give this to you after half an hour? Because right now I'm tied up with something. So now you don't break your flow, you don't break your focus. Ye khatam karo, uske baad wo karo. So you can have a notepad, then you can do task journaling. You can have a notepad and you can just line up everything that is coming up, but don't disturb your flow state. So that you get things done faster. Yes. And you reduce the overwhelm for yourself. Yes.
How do we overcome self-doubt? Now we live in a very competitive world and this world is constantly demanding more and more from us. And there's literally this imposter syndrome which kicks in when you're trying to do something. You start doubting yourself and that affects your self-confidence. You may be the best at what you're doing, but you still doubt yourself. How can we overcome self-doubt and think of ourselves as enough?
Neha, if I ask you this question, have you ever seen a toddler, a child, telling you that, I'm sorry, I can't do that. That's not my cup of tea.
No, they always try.
This sounds so funny and weird, no? If you ask a child, ये try करना है, ये ride में जाना है, वहां से कूदना है, ये slide लेनी है, they'll be so full of excitement. I want to do that.
Yeah.
You will never see a child saying that, no, I'm fearful. I don't think this is my cup. I don't think I'll be able to do that. They are always ready. So my question to you is, are we born with self-doubt?
No.
We are not born with self-doubt. Self-doubt is a rogue program which is inserted in us, in this system. Okay. Now, this program can either be given by our society or we have inserted this unknowingly from our past failures. So let's say you tried certain things a couple of times and you didn't get the kind of results and then what is the natural outcome? Oh, this is not for me.
Yeah.
This is not my cup of tea. I'm not good at this. And I've seen a lot of people saying this. It is like a broken record that they keep on telling themselves that, yaar, ye to mere bas ka nahi hai. Ye tum kar lo. This is not for me. Why are you doing this to yourself? Okay. So, number one is self-doubt. We are not born with it. Number two, it is our own creation, or it is given by someone, or it is our own creation. So number three, which is very important once you know this, is to validate your self-doubt. By validating my self-doubt, what I mean is, if I failed once, if I failed twice, does this mean that I'll never succeed in that?
No, it's just that I need to put more hard work in and I need to try more.
Exactly. Now, in order to put in some more fuel to it, go back to your past successes. That in what endeavors I have achieved success. Oh, I have done this, I've already done this. with flying colors, I was able to do it. What does that mean? That means that I have the fuel, I have the potential to do it. Okay. Now, the next step, what you can also do is to put in more fuel. Can you look at some success stories who were failures but now succeeded in something similar? That will give you a blueprint that, okay, if he can do it, if she can do it, that means that this is not impossible. Even I can do it. So I think one step at a time, you need to break all the legs of that table called self-doubt. Okay. So just think about it. It's a 6-seater dining table, and that's self-doubt. Now, if you start breaking all the legs by validating it, it will not be able to stand tall and strong.
Yeah.
So I think that's one of the ways, at least you can start, working on it.
And how do we overcome mobile addictions? Because this again is a very, very, I think also unknowingly and unintentionally, a very big role in our self-doubt also comes from social media.
Yes.
Because we are seeing a lot of people do a lot of things, showing their best side on social media, and that makes us feel very little about ourselves and makes us doubt our own capabilities, because everyone is doing so much. Everyone is so out there and being their best selves and giving their best, putting their best foot front. We start thinking that we are not enough. And we are nothing but only addicted to social media at this point, right? Constantly, everything is about looking at amazing visuals, glamorous stuff, great food, amazing clothes, people like traveling all across the globe. And then we start doubting our own capabilities, our own self-worth, our own life, and we feel little about ourselves. So one is, how can we get over social media addiction and not let it affect us? And second is, how can we use social media in a wise way? Because it's a boon also in a way. It helps us in many, many ways. It adds value to our life. But how can we have that thin line between using it wisely and not getting addicted?
I think this is one of the most important topics today, especially. And Neha, I think that, social media is like a knife. If you know how to use it, you can actually make the most out of it. You can cut, chop, do so many things. But if you don't know how to use it, you will end up hurting yourself, right? Today, each and every individual who is there on social media platforms need to understand the science behind these platforms. These platforms are made, they are engineered, they are developed, they are conditioned to have more views, because that's the business model. The more you stay on those social media platforms, those platforms get benefited. So now, my question to you is, if you are the owner of a platform, and if you know this matrix, that I want people, instead of staying for 5 minutes, I want them to stay for half an hour, then what do I need to do? You will engineer the platform in such a way that the stickability of the platform improves.
Yeah.
Right? Even if you had no desire to be there on Instagram for 5 minutes, you will end up spending 1 hour.
Yes.
Right? And then you will have guilt and regret and all that nonsense you will feel. But what to do about it? The time is gone. Right? There's this beautiful documentary called Social Dilemma. Everyone should watch that, because that will be an eye opener, that what exactly goes behind the screen. Okay. So the thing is, coming back to this particular thing that you spoke about, that we get influenced by what we see, right? All the frills over there, all the colorful aspects over there. I remember, Neha, in one of the podcasts, we were talking about this, and I happened to say that social media is like the showcase. We all have a showcase in our house, right? And where is the showcase placed? Not in the last room. Showcase is placed in the living room. Why? Because everyone who enters your house, you want them to see the showcase, because बहुत मेहनत करी आपने showcase पे. You have all your achievements and artifacts and all those good things you have lined up, and then you also have some fancy lights, because that will make the showcase look good. And we all have a storehouse also. We have a storeroom in our house. वहाँ पे सारा कचरा पड़ा रहता है. It's not taken care of also. It's not even painted sometimes. It is just there. So, on social media, everyone is showcasing their showcase. Their storeroom is there. It is even more uglier, but they are not showcasing their storeroom. Now, we as individuals, what we do is we go on social media, we are looking at everyone's showcase and we are comparing their showcase with our storeroom. And then we say that, yaar, mere storeroom mein to kitna gand hai. And look at their life. My friend, you are comparing an apple with a mango. So you are going to get stressed. You are going to get disappointed. You are going to curse yourself and your life and your existence if you keep on comparing your storeroom with someone else's showcase. So just this one understanding that what you see on the screen is not the reality. It's not the complete reality. So that itself will give you some reality check. Number 2 is, which is very important, please go to your following list. Okay? And ask yourself that whosoever I am following, am I getting any value from that? This is called as, doing your analysis of your social media. And if you realize that all these accounts are not giving me any value, just unfollow. How you treat your money is how you treat your attention. Okay. For example, let's say if you have 10,000 rupees now lying in your wallet, will you just go out and randomly start shopping? No. You'll be very mindful of it. I want this, I need this, only then you will purchase it. Your attention is your currency. So you have limited attention every single day. Now there are random vendors who are coming to you. Mera bhi saman le lo, ye bhi le lo, wo bhi le lo. And you are like, chalo de do. Ek ye bhi pack kar do, ek ye bhi pack kar do. And you are left with nothing. This is what happens when you, randomly consume social media. You feel exhausted by the end of the day. Right? So being mindful of what to consume and what not to consume. The third aspect, I would say that more than a consumer, be a creator on social media. By creator, I don't mean that you start creating reels and creating videos and creating posts. By creator, what I mean is learn something from social media and create a life of your dreams. Because social media is a boon as well, as you rightly said. Because of social media, we are learning so many things. Our level of awareness is increasing. We are getting exposure to so many things. Ghar pe baithe baithe, you are listening to experts. Ghar pe baithe baithe, you are getting, treatment protocols and so many things. You're listening to doctors. So much. What's going on in another part of the world, you get to know from your bedroom, just through a screen. So it's important. But at the same time, being mindful of what you are consuming, that's important. So more than just a consumer, be creator. So learn and apply that in your life. And number 3, the last thing I would say is that you need to define how much time I want to spend on social media.
That's the toughest part.
That's the toughest part.
You may decide 5 minutes, 10 minutes, you'll end up, as you rightly said, 2 hours being on it and just wasting your time and just scrolling mindlessly, not gaining any value, not gaining anything out of it, and just ruining your own mind, eyes, health, time, everything.
No, there are many ways to control that also. So many times, what I do is I put an alarm on my phone, and that alarm is just for like 10 minutes. And I give myself to do doom scrolling for 10 minutes because even I'm a human being. Even I need some time to relax myself. So by the end of the day, I have time where I do doom scrolling because I don't want to create that void in me. Otherwise, I'll need it more. Right? So I'll put a 10 minutes ka alarm and I'll just see. When the alarm goes off, I'll have to stop. That's where self-discipline also comes into.
That self-control and self-discipline is what one needs to build here to do that.
Yeah, you cannot just keep on snoozing it or increasing the time. Otherwise, it all goes for a toss. No? Yes. So I think this can help.
Right.
People. Yeah.
Okay. Now, quickly, I want to know your top 3 tips to manage anxiety when it's cropping up in the moment.
I would say number 1, catch yourself getting uncomfortable, first of all. Because when anxiety is cropping up, you feel there's your body is giving you a lot of signals. Okay. So just catch that. Number 2, I've taught this breathing pattern to my mentees and my students. I call it as 5:8 breathing, which is working wonders for all of them. 5:8 is when you inhale for the count of 5, you exhale from your mouth for the count of 8. Okay. Just do 5 to 6 cycles of it. You will start feeling that relaxation because this longer exhalations, they activate your vagus nerve, and it also activates your parasympathetic nervous system. So 5:8 aapko karna hai. And number 3 is you just change your space, change your place, because place has energy. Okay. So if you're still sitting on the same chair, if you're still in the same room, if you're still on the same bed, then it's like, there's some kind of attachment with that place, that emotion, and that feeling. So you just need to go out somewhere, go in your balcony, just take few deep breaths, just wash your face with some cold water. That helps. Drink water, hydrate yourself. That helps. So there's 3 steps, and it can be done anywhere.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. And the next quick 3 tips that I want from you is, in this cluttered, chaotic world that we live in with a cluttered brain, how do we cultivate calm on demand?
I call it a COD, calm on demand, and we want everything on demand these days. So, see, the thing is, one of the best anchors that we have got as a gift from nature is our breath. Research says, when you switch from mechanical breathing to conscious breathing, something fundamentally shifts in you. Because 24/7, 365 we are breathing. Right? कुछ भी कर रहे हो, आपका ध्यान है नहीं है, you're breathing. And that's the beauty of this system. But when you start shifting from mechanical breathing to conscious breathing, instantly the way your body is functioning changes. You automatically start getting calmer. So I think one of the best ways to establish and cultivate calm on demand is just to bring your focus on your breath. And with every inhale and every exhale, you just tell yourself breathing in. So it's like a second anchor you are building with those words: breathing in, breathing out, breathing in, breathing out. This is number 1. And just after this, offer gratitude to something. Okay. Because gratitude, this is what I've learned, that you cannot be grateful and anxious at the same time. You cannot be grateful and angry at the same time. You cannot be grateful and frustrated at the same time. So just bringing your awareness to your breath and just offering gratitude to any one thing, any one person, or any one situation can just bring that biochemistry shift in you.
Okay, that was amazing. I hope you guys have made notes of the quick 3 tips. So now we are moving on to our rapid fire section, where I'm going to ask you questions, and I want you to answer them as quick as possible.
Sure.
All right. Meditation, morning or night?
Both the times.
Okay. What's your go-to mantra or affirmation?
I'm ready.
Okay. Do you ever lose your temper, and how do you handle it?
Yes, I do. I'm a human being. I do lose my temper. But number 1, just being aware. Number 2, asking myself, which emotion do I choose right now?
Okay.
That helps me. Yeah.
That's how you navigate your anger.
Yes.
Okay. One book or resource you think everyone should read?
There are many books, but I think The Power of Habit by Charles Duhigg is one of the good books. You have The Deep Work. That's a very good book. As the Man Thinketh. That's a very good book. There's this beautiful book by the Attitude. The Attitude. There's this book called The Attitude by, I think it's by James Allen. I'm not sure, but there's this book on attitude. Even that is good. Many such books. Yeah.
Okay. Are you a coffee or a tea person, or neither?
Tea person.
How many cups in a day?
Maximum 2, minimum 1.
Okay. Yeah. What's one thing on your bucket list that you still haven't done?
Travel the world. That is there on the bucket list, but I've not yet done it because time doesn't permit. Always caught up with a lot of things, but traveling the world to gain that experience, because every place has an energy, and energy creates your own experience. So yes, that's important.
Okay. Do you have a secret talent that people wouldn't expect?
I'm not sure.
Not
I don't
sure?
think so.
Okay, so all your talents are exposed.
Yes.
If you could live anywhere in the world, where would it be?
India.
Awesome.
Anytime.
Okay. What's the one thing you can't leave your house without besides your phone?
Watch.
Okay.
Yes, I love it.
Okay. If you had a superpower, what would it be?
The power to heal on demand. I know this is a rapid fire. I had no idea of this question, but this is what I have been thinking about, that how can I cultivate that if there is any problem, if there is any pain, whether, and not just about human beings, I'm talking about animals as well. If there is any pain, if that pain can be taken away just with a click, I want that. I want
Beautiful.
that superpower.
You want to heal the world on demand.
Yes.
So that was the end of our rapid fire. And Alok, you were amazing.
Thank you.
I think I've learned so much from you today, which I really was looking forward to. And I am not disappointed because you have given me such amazing pearls of wisdom. And I'm going to definitely implement that and also ask my clients to do it, because this is what we all need to do. Be mindful, be aware, regulate our emotions, and just be nice human beings in this world and share niceness and kindness and compassion with each other. So thank you for being here.
Thank you. And I think that's the least that we can do as human beings. Right? So, Neha, thank you very much for doing everything that you're doing. And I wish great success for your podcast, The Healing Feeling. I love the name. And I think the world needs the healing. Thank you.
But before we go, I have this small hamper for you by Urban Platter.
Thank you.
And these are all the healthy goodies for you and your family.
Thank you.
I hope you enjoy them.
Thank you. Thank you. God bless you.
Thank you once again.
You and your team are doing an amazing job. So God bless you. Just keep on expanding this platform of awareness. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for watching this episode till the end. And I'm sure you have had a lot of takeaways from this episode, which you are going to implement in your daily life and improve your life. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and also share this with your friends and family who will benefit from the information that we have shared in this episode. See you again in the next episode.